Hey, how's everyone doing? The mic was not on just now. I am sorry. But in any case, this is Melvin on the Melvin Live Show. And I just want to talk about strategy here again today. Now, today, the focus really is about strategy first. Now, what I mean by that, before we get into that, I just want to share with you something that I just um, saw in terms of the number of tools that are out there. So, one of the questions that I get asked a lot whenever people are who have seen my videos, they will be asking me like, "Hey, um, what what camera are you using?" And very often that question comes out, and of course, I would tell them, currently I'm using the Sony ZV-1. Shout out to you, Sony. Great product there. I would tell them that this is the current camera that I am using, and they will get all excited and they will start asking me about the features of the camera and all that. Another scenario I can give you is whenever I tell people about a particular concept of things, they would ask me, what are the tools available? So, for example, when I told some of my coaching clients that they should be looking at building up their email lists if they have not already done so, the immediate question to ask was, what tool would you recommend? And I think that question, it's not the best question to ask. The better question to ask is, what is the strategy? What is the strategy before you look at the tools itself? So I like to bring up this famous quote by Steve Jobs, right? I came across this quote as I was doing research for today's show. And the quote that he gave was, you know, all right. It's not the tools that you have faith in. Tools are just tools. Now, this is crucial coming from the guy who literally revolutionized the way we use our phone, right? And that is a tool, right? And coming from the guy who created that, tools are just tools. They work or they don't work. Now, what he went on to talk about it's people you have faith in or not. Yeah, sure. I'm still optimistic. I mean, I get pessimistic sometime, but not for too long. So when Steve was talking about the idea of tools and all that, he was looking at tools as just tools, and really, tools are just tools, right? Because you first decide on what you want to do, then you go look for the tools that is able to help you execute what you want to do. So for today's topic itself, I'd like you to think about the strategy first before you talk about tools. And beyond that, what I would also like to share with you is that the two episodes back we talked about what exactly is a strategy. What are the elements of a strategy that you will have to pay attention to? There are the four P's. So if you have not watched, please go back and peruse episode 113. Now, in episode 114, what we talked about the process of actually coming out with the strategy. And the process of coming out with the strategy is basically there are three levels, right? We talked about it yesterday. And so if you have not watched that, please go and watch episode 114. So for today, what I'd like to do is go deeper into strategy and how you are able to evaluate whether the strategy is working or not. Now, this is crucial because when you implement certain things, the mindset of most people is that I want to see the results. And quite often, the strategy that you implement may not directly link to the bottom line, but indirectly it contributes to that. So instead of thinking like, I am going to do a live stream right? What camera should I use? Instead, think of what is your strategy, right? And the best way to think about that is to ask yourself a series of questions. The question that I always ask my clients are three things, right? Number one is I will ask them, what is the objective? What is the objective that you want to have achieved? Now, in a very technical term, when you talked about objective and a goal, the difference between those two are as follows. A goal is an end in mind. An objective is what you do to arrive at the goal. So the key idea here is that first I would ask, what is the objective? What is it that you are trying to do to reach your goal? Right? This presupposes that they already know what their goal is. For example, for me, my goal of doing this show is I want to be able to share with you the mindset, skill set, and tool set of building a 1%, 1 million or digital business. So that it's my object. That's my goal to be able to share with you that. Now, what is the objective for me? The objective, how am I going to get to that goal? The objective would be I must be able to think of topics that are related. I want to be able to share topics that are related to what I have done in terms of implementation of building this business. So in that sense, I want to be able to share what am I going to share, right? So I'm going to share the things that I have learned and I've implemented and I have got some results to show for. So that is the plan, right? That is the objective. So first thing first, you want to ask yourself, what is your objective, right? And I would say, many a times you really have to work with a coach to refine your objective because if you get the objective wrong, you are barking up the wrong tree. So first is I'll ask them about the objective. Next, I'll ask them is, what are the results that you look at, right? What are the results that you look at? And the results that you look at would, of course, need to be able to track the objectives. Now, so sometimes people get carried away because the results that they look at are purely just activities, right? As an example, my goal is to share with you how I built this 1%, 1 million old digital business. That is my goal. And how am I going to achieve my goal is that I am going to share with you the topics and I'm going to live stream that, right? And so what are the results that I'm looking at? So many a times what people would look at would be number of videos that I or number of live streams that I do. Now, you need to understand that in the context of results, there are actually two types of results. Now, one type of results are actually what we call activity results. Now, activity results are number of times I stream, right? Number of videos that I make. Those are activities. Those in and of itself will help get to the objective, but that doesn't mean that the objective is achieved. So, other than the activity results, you also need to look at the outcome results. Now, I know that gets a little complicated. So, if you got questions, please feel free to ask me, right? So, you need outcome results. Now, what are outcome results? Outcome results could mean I could be looking at what is the number of views per video, per episode. And I should have a target for that, right? So currently, what I'm working on is I'm looking that when I reach a certain level, I would want to see at least 1,000 views per episode, whether it's live or it's via replay. It doesn't matter. But what I want to see is I want to see 1,000 views per episode. right? That becomes an outcome. And why that is an outcome result? Because if my objective is I want to stream and share what I've learned, what I've implemented in building this one person, 1 million old digital business, if that is my objective and the goal is to be able to share with people, I would want to know how many people I've shared with. And a proxy indicator to know how many people I've shared with would be based on the number of views. In other words, what are the number of views that would mean how many people have seen this? So, for example, today, once I start live streaming on YouTube, immediately I know at least there are 3 people who are watching, right? And that gives me a sense of, okay, am I working towards my goal? Am I having my objectives met? So first you need to have your objective, and then you need to have your results. Now once you have your results, then you are able to evaluate whether the strategy is working, right? And so that's why the focus should always be on strategy first, because you can have a bunch of tools, right? You can have all the best tools. You can have the camera, the lights, the mic, the hardware, color grading, and all that fancy stuff. You can have all that stuff, but if you do not have a strategy, those are just going to be tools. Now, the other point I want to share with you was that the other day I had I saw this tweet, and this person was saying that if you're starting, always either just use whatever you have, which I agree. You use whatever you have, or you buy the cheapest, best tool possible. So right off the bat, if you starting this, you, you do not have to go out and get the Shure SM7B, which costs like I think 500 over dollars, right? You can have a mic. And when I first started out, the mic that I was using was essentially the earpiece that came with my cell phone. And of course, later on, when I became a little bit more conscious about the pros and cons of that, that's when I shift to an external microphone and so on and so forth. So that person was saying that when you think about tools, and if you are embarking on a project, an experiment, right, and you are not quite sure whether the experiment is going to work the way you hope it would be. Now, of course, if you know that the experiment is going to give you the desired result, then that is not an experiment. We talked about that previously. And so, if you are embarking on an experiment and you do not know if the result is going to be what you expect, at this point in time, unless you have got lots of cash to burn, and even if you do, I wouldn't advise you to embrace that mindset. I would encourage you to first use what you have, and then if you need to get a better tool, just get the best, cheapest tool possible first. Because until and unless you know that you are seeing certain results and you are going deep, you are investing, you are committed to it, then that's where you start getting the best tool. So don't get me wrong, I am not saying that you should not buy good tools. What I'm saying is that if you are just starting out, you should either use whatever you have, or if you need to get the tool, then you get the best, cheapest tool possible. Because worst case scenario, if the experiment doesn't work out, the tools that you have procured isn't going to cost you a lot of money. But if you right off the bat you start acquiring really expensive tools, and you keep on going on an experimentation, at the end of the day you're going to end up with a cabinet full of expensive tools that you probably only use once or twice. Sure, I mean, you could resell it, But the point is that we want to work on this with the mindset of a business person and not a mindset of, a fancy entrepreneur. So we want to be prudent, but yet we also want to give quality itself. So that's my point, which is why, I have in this live stream itself, I have went with, the shotgun mic that I used to have. I then switched to a lavalier mic. I then switched to the Blue Yeti, and I've used so many different variations because those are the ones that I currently have. And then later on, then I realized that maybe I should invest in something a little better, and that's why I have I'm buying a Shure microphone, a proper microphone that is going to be able to give me that kind of sound. So, you know, you don't do that until you know that your project is gaining traction and you're on your way. Then you start investing in it. Sure, I mean, if you ask 10 different people, you probably get 12 different opinions, and that's my opinion. So, right. And so with that itself, w- you look at the objective, you look at your results, and then finally you look at whether are you on the right track. And the way to see whether are you on the right track is twofold. First, you want to make sure that the activities, you have stuck to the activities. Why? Because many a times, myself included, so I'm not pointing fingers here, but many a times I have come up with, the most brilliant of plans, but I don't execute on it, right? Or I execute on it, and then after that, I kind of wind off and I jump to something else. And that has resulted in lots of time wasted and money wasted. Left so much money on the table. It's not funny. So please do not do that. So first, you want to make sure that you have actually stuck to the plans and you have actually implemented. So once you know that you have implemented, then you go and evaluate the outcome results. Whether did you achieve those outcome results? And if you don't, then obviously the strategy, it's not right or it's not optimal. And so you need a fair bit of tweaking. You need to brainstorm. You need to evaluate and come up with better strategies, right? And so that, my friend, do not get seduced by new tools because, let me just show you the number of tools that are on the App Store. And this is the Mac OS App Store. So if you look at, the charts itself, and this is just for productivity, right? On the left hand column, it's 198, and on the right hand column is 194 paid apps. There's just so many apps out there. And what you really want to do is you don't want to be in a situation whereby you are inundated with all these tools and you spend so much time trying to figure out how to use these tools, and where the time should be spent or invested in building the business. Okay, so that said, I thank you all for watching. The three people who are watching on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment. Right, I am absolutely delighted that you're here. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to cover in subsequent episodes itself. I will be more than happy to share if you have got questions. Right, and with that, thank you so much for watching. And tomorrow, what's going to happen is tomorrow I'm going to do a quick summary of the topics that we talked about. Plus, I'm going to, share with you something. I have a bonus for you. So, especially for all those people who are subscribers, this is the bonus that I have for you. With that, thank you so much. This is the Melvin Live Show, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.